Today's show is sponsored by the Electric Vehicle Association. Join up to support the electrification of transport today. And by Energy Sage. Plan your energy independence and insulate yourself from rising energy costs. And by you. Stick around to find out how you can help us remain 100% independent. Welcome back to another episode of TEN Transport Evolved News. Thanks for joining me. I hope that you are safe, well, and with someone you care about who also cares for you. Today's show is going live the same day as No Kings 3 is happening in the US, and we're going to start today's show with a pretty good illustration of why events like No Kings 3 are needed. This week, the US Interior Department announced that it had agreed to a $1 billion refund to TotalEnergies in exchange for the French company ceasing all wind farm operations off the US East Coast. It's a new way in which the White House is trying to stop the development of wind farms and comes after several blistering losses in court over its attempts to halt already permitted wind farm developments, citing national security concerns. The Department of the Interior hailed the deal as an innovative agreement that, quote, American people will no longer pay for ideological subsidies that benefited only the unreliable and costly offshore wind industry, end quote. In exchange for the refund, TotalEnergies also agreed to invest that money into fossil fuel exploration and export terminals. On Thursday, the same company made a surprise announcement that the world will not be able to reach carbon neutrality by 2050 as per the Paris Climate Agreement. Instead, it says its targets depend on innovation, public policy and consumer choices, and has basically pushed its own targets back. I wonder what caused the change, eh? The US Securities and Exchange Commission has dropped its investigation into Faraday Future and several of its executives roughly 1 year after the agency indicated it was recommending civil enforcement action against them. The EV firm, which has to date sold just a handful of hyper-luxury electric SUVs, mostly to collectors and corporate clients, had been the subject of a 4-year SEC investigation. Last year, Faraday Future confirmed that it and some key executives had received Wells notices, the formal letters by which the SEC notifies recipients that enforcement action is being recommended. The agency had allegedly gathered insider testimony corroborating claims that the firm and its executives had made intentionally false and misleading statements ahead of its 2021 SPAC merger, as well as alleged evidence of falsified sales data in subsequent years. Despite this, the SEC has chosen to close the case, and Faraday Future is far from alone. Over the past year, the agency has quietly dropped a number of investigations where enforcement had appeared likely, without providing public explanation. Whether that reflects a change in priorities, resources, or something else entirely, I'll leave you to decide. Earlier this month, I shared the news that Honda had decided to cancel all development and planned production of new US market Honda and Acura EVs based on its Series 0 concept cars. At that time, I shared the news that Honda was in the process of re-evaluating its partnership with Sony on the Sony Honda Mobility EV brand, and this week, the inevitable news came down the wire. Sony Honda Mobility and its EVs are DOA. As recently as January, the partnership was promising we'd see the Afeela 1 sedan begin production in the US with deliveries starting by the end of this year, and a second model, an SUV, would be due to arrive in 2028. With Honda pulling back on EVs, the partnership essentially lacks many of the assets it was relying on to bring a functional EV to market, and thus the project is dead. Surprise, surprise. I've given you all of the horrid news up front, so let's go to something more positive now, namely that Mercedes-Benz is reporting strong demand for its all-new CLA with EQ technology. Unveiled just over a year ago, with deliveries officially starting in Europe in late August, sales data from Europe shows that there are just over 25,500 all-electric CLA variants on the road there. Interestingly too, while sales in January and February are traditionally low in the auto industry, the CLA continued to gain customers, with January and February sales eclipsing September and October. It's worth noting too that this milestone has been reached by the EV variant alone, as while there will eventually be a hybrid variant offered, it's not gone on sale yet. Of the 25,500 examples sold thus far, Germany holds the lion's share, with 9,600 examples on its road, followed by the UK, which has 3,700 sales to date. While it's selling strongly in Europe, just as its nearest rival, the BMW iX3 is, it's worth noting that Chinese market sales of the CLA since its Chinese market launch in October only total 1,600 cars. I, and many others in the auto industry, are always careful to remind folks that it is incredibly difficult to establish a new automotive brand and gain profitability. Most startups fail to reach that second goal, and many that do take years and years to achieve it. But Chinese tech firm Xiaomi, which started its own automotive division 2 years ago, has just posted its first annual profit from EVs. According to its year-end financials published this week, the EBIT of its automotive arm, that's earnings before interest and taxes, hit 900 million yuan. Granted, said EV division spent the first half of 2025 making a loss, but a substantial boost in sales during the second half closed the year in the black. Xiaomi also confirmed that its EV business saw a 200% growth in sales from 2024 to 2025, driven in part by the introduction of its second model, the YU7, in August. That model was China's best-selling medium to large SUV for 7 months straight through February this year. Staying in China, market data from the China Passenger Car Association this week, analysed by Car News China, shows that CATL's market share for Chinese EV battery packs has grown in the first quarter of this year. While the quarter won't officially end for a few more days, CATL's current market share in the Chinese EV battery market sits at 50.1%, the highest it's been for 5 years. While CATL did hold more than half the EV battery market in 2021, it's worth noting that the total battery market today is about 2.6 times larger than it was then. Overall, CATL held an 81.6% share of NMC battery production in Q1 and a 41% LFP battery market share. Its second-place rival, BYD, accounted for 17.5% of total market share, 0% of the NMC share, and 22.6% of the LFP battery share. While CATL dominates the domestic battery market, however, it's worth noting that overall, according to Car News China, a really low percentage of produced batteries are being installed in vehicles, just 19%, meaning that Chinese battery firms are building up quite the stock of packs for future projects. You know by now that EV critics love to claim that EVs are expensive to maintain and that their battery packs require replacement every few years. And you also know by now that we love busting that myth with cold hard facts. This week, a new battery health analysis was published by TÜV Nord and car tech company Carly, showing that EV battery packs really do have impressive lifespan. The analysis looked at battery health of around 50,000 electric and plug-in hybrid vehicles and discovered that most EVs had excellent battery state of health readings for the first 90,000 kilometres, 55,000 miles, with an average fleet-wide battery capacity degradation of 0.7% per 10,000 kilometres. After that point, the rate of degradation increases to around 2.3 percentage points per 10,000 kilometres. However, what the study doesn't clarify is what has the greatest impact on battery capacity loss: mileage, age, or indeed driving habits or charging behaviour. Overall, the median state of health of all batteries sat at 96%, and only 9.9% of the vehicle studies had a state of health below 85%. The study also notes that vehicles, older ones, Volkswagen, Renault and Citroën EVs, demonstrated the highest capacity loss, while Hyundai, Kia and Mercedes-Benz models fared better. Newer models with newer battery packs seem to demonstrate lower capacity losses at given odometer readings, demonstrating significant improvements in battery cell design. Aside from concerns over battery health, another oft-cited reason for not buying an EV is the ethical concerns associated with the use of cobalt in NMC batteries, cobalt that has historically often been tied to human rights violations and forced labour in the DRC. One way to avoid this is to migrate to LFP battery packs, something many automakers are already doing. But another way is to recycle cobalt already mined. This week, Polestar confirmed that its Polestar 2 and Polestar 3 EVs will now include at least 50% recycled cobalt in their battery packs. The Polestar 2 was the first EV to be built using blockchain-traced cobalt, and subsequent models have followed suit. Moving forward, the company plans on expanding the amount of recycled materials used in its models, and says that through a partnership with Volvo Cars Battery Centres, it will offer recycled replacement batteries for customers' cars, enhancing its circular recycling economy. As President Donald Trump's war in Iran rages on, the impacts are being felt around the world. This week, France's finance minister confirmed that between 30 and 40% of Gulf refining capacity has been damaged or destroyed, resulting in at least 11 million barrels of oil per day being removed from the global marketplace. That has led to massive price increases for fossil fuel products, and already grocery prices are also on the rise. And amidst that, car buyers are turning their attentions to EVs to help them out. As I covered in last week's show, EV searches online are on the rise, and this week BYD dealerships around the world are seeing a notable rise in demand. In the Philippines, one BYD dealership reported getting a month's worth of orders in just 2 weeks, while dealerships across the world are seeing similar patterns. Even in the US, with federal EV tax credits now gone, buyers are flocking to dealerships to nab both new and used models. As I noted last week, Donald Trump's irrational obsession with fossil fuels might actually end up spurring more EV sales. And finally for the segment, as part of that obsession with fossil fuels, President Trump has tried multiple tricks to stop all renewable energy deployment and commission, but this week more data shows how the tide just can't be turned. Just this week, Dominion Energy's new coastal Virginia offshore wind farm, which will be the US's largest wind farm of its type when complete, started sending power to the grid. It's currently about 70% finished and will ultimately produce 2.6 gigawatts when fully operational. It's the latest in a long line of new renewable energy generation to be added to the world's electrical grid, which last year netted 814 gigawatts of solar and wind capacity, up from the 696 gigawatts added in the previous year. While that figure is global, the US Energy Information Administration predicted that this year, despite attempts to the contrary, solar alone will add approximately 43.4 gigawatts of capacity to the US grid, combined with around 12 gigawatts of wind, while fossil fuels are expected to add less than 4 gigawatts net and may actually shrink. Batteries, meanwhile, an additional 24 gigawatts of battery storage is expected to come online in the US this year. All of this data represents a significant growth over last year's US energy mix and signals the end of fossil fuels, regardless of how many backroom deals the White House can offer. And if you are in the US and would like to accelerate that transition, why not talk to our channel sponsors Energy Sage, who can help you make your own energy on the roof of your home. Energy Sage connects you with local verified solar installers across the US and now also heat pump specialists in select markets. And if you're not a homeowner, no worries, because you can still green your electricity by joining a community solar program. I personally used Energy Sage when we decided to put solar on the roof of our home, and their verified pros were knowledgeable and extremely professional. Our local Energy Sage verified installer even put us in touch with a credit union that allowed a special low-interest solar loan program for us to finance with. Granted, there aren't any federal incentives for solar installations anymore, but there are still local funds in many places, and Energy Sage can help you through that process, helping you to maximize your investment. Follow the link below to sign up for Energy Sage's free no-obligation service and get started today. And disclaimer, if you choose an Energy Sage installer, we will also receive a small referral fee. So you'll be helping us too. Help the grid get greener, save money, gain energy independence and support this channel? It's a win-win-win-win. And now it's time for our recall reminders. As usual, you'll find full details on our website. Bus company New Flyer is recalling certain hydrogen fuel cell and battery electric buses to address a software bug with their inverter systems that could cause unintended acceleration. Orange EV is recalling certain examples of its various all-electric terminal trucks to address an issue with the optional fold-away training seat that could detach and fail. In the world of passenger cars, Hyundai is recalling more than 100,000 Kona Electrics made between 2018 and 2023 to update their battery management system. The recall is related to a fault in the BMS that could fail to note a sudden increase in cell temperatures. And finally, for the recalls, the Volkswagen Group is also planning a similarly large recall campaign worldwide to address faulty battery modules in affected cars across various Volkswagen Group brands. That's it for the recall reminders. Now it's time for our news shorts, and as usual, you'll find full links on our website at transportevolved.com. The Berlin Battery Lab has officially been opened. It's a joint programme between several universities and the German Federal Institute for Materials Research and Testing. Bosch has announced a new battery system and drivetrain for use in logistical and heavy-duty vehicles, like telescopic loaders. It operates at 800 volts and can deliver up to 188 kilowatts. XPeng published its Q4 and full-year financials for 2025 this week, recording a net profit for the first time in its history for the fourth quarter of $55 million. That's a dramatic improvement on its $180 million quarterly loss the year prior. Kia has officially begun series production of its EV2 crossover at its facility in Žilina, Slovakia. This is the second fully electric model to be built for Europe there. Volkswagen Group-owned brand Cupra has announced significant updates to its Tavascan EV. Its new model year will get a 58 kilowatt-hour variant with improved charging and specs. Ford has unveiled a new all-electric commercial vehicle in Europe, the Transit City. While it doesn't have the E prefix, it's all-electric and is designed for affordable work use, complete with LFP battery pack. VinFast's sister company, V-Green, has announced plans to deploy 99 new fast-charging stations in its home market of Vietnam. It plans to invest 10 trillion dong in the project. Stellantis EVs in the US and Canada can now officially use Tesla Superchargers to fast charge, utilising an approved NACS to CCS Type 1 adapter that you can buy from Stellantis. Chinese automaker BAIC has announced it's working on prismatic sodium-ion cells for use in future vehicles. It's already finished the prototype design and established mass production plans. The Kiwi government has announced a substantial zero-interest loan programme aimed to add more than 2,500 new fast chargers to the roads of Aotearoa, New Zealand. ChargeNet and Meridian also invested in the programme. New data from the US reported by Electrek suggests that fleet logistics companies that use electric big rigs are seeing better staff retention than those who use ICE big rigs. Younger drivers especially prefer electric trucks with more onboard safety tech. Vermont utility company Green Mountain Power is expanding its virtual power plant program and has now added incentivized one-off or monthly payment financing options for home battery backup systems. As US policy becomes increasingly anti-EV, automakers are now leaning in on offering deep discounts, and this week an Audi dealer in Las Vegas was spotted offering more than $54,000 in discounts on Audi's range-topping RS e-tron GT. It's only just gone on sale in parts of Europe, but Honda's first all-electric motorcycle, the WN7, has managed to pick up a prestigious Gold IF Design Award. It's no surprise, it's quite a looker. Volvo Car UK has taken the UK's predilection for small cargo vans based on passenger cars and produced the EX30 Cargo. It's an EX30 with the rear seats replaced with a cargo area and will retail from £36,010 sterling on the road. Donut Lab published more data this week on its new battery, and this time it's news of a charge-discharge test at high power levels. In a 50-strong 5C charge cycle, the cell didn't fare too well, but it's worth noting that's the same cell that was damaged in a previous high-temp test, rendering the data a little questionable. Fastned has announced its ad-hoc charging rate in Germany has been reduced with immediate effect. From April, its ad-hoc charging rate will drop from 73 cents to 69 cents per kilowatt-hour. Renault is readying its Palencia plant in Spain to begin production of two of its new electric models from 2028. The second-generation Renault Scenic E-Tech will be produced there. Mahindra, alongside gas station company HPCL, has announced that they will be working to deploy EV charging stations at more than 24,400 HPCL fuel stations across India. Bosch and Tata AutoComp Systems Limited, part of Tata Motors, have established a new joint venture to design and build e-axle systems and electric motors in India for the domestic market. As MG parent company SAIC says its semi-solid-state batteries will launch in Europe later this year, specs of its MG4X crossover, which will use the battery, have been published in China. It's positioned to cross-shop against the BYD Atto 3. The AVL Mobility Observatory has published its new fleet and mobility barometer for Germany, noting that fleet managers are looking to expand their use of both new and used EVs. R3 Robotics, once known as Circu-li-ion, has secured €20 million to help it industrialise automated battery pack disassembly. It aims to make EV battery packs easier and cheaper to recycle for true closed-loop recycling. And talking of recycling, logistics firm CEVA has announced a new service in continental Europe to safely ship and handle used lithium-ion batteries from EVs for recycling. Our adopted home city of Portland, Oregon is set to launch a new e-bike rebate program next week that will operate a lottery process to award sizable rebates for e-bike purchases. The program is limited to low-income families and historically disenfranchised communities. As most of the US auto industry pulls back from EV plans, Toyota has confirmed it's investing $1 billion in two of its US facilities to ready them for a second all-electric model. The UK government has announced a new £1 billion grant to help fund business adoption of electric trucks and vans. It also includes funds to finance depot charging equipment. Subaru has teased an image of its next all-electric model. Due to launch at the New York Auto Show next week, the silhouette looks very similar to the already revealed Trailseeker and Uncharted EVs. A project based at ISE Fraunhofer in Germany has developed a new higher-power DC-to-DC system as part of a megawatt DC fast-charging project that's capable of providing 9 kilowatts per litre of power while maintaining an impressive efficiency of 99.26%. A climate lawsuit against BMW and Mercedes-Benz in Germany has been ruled that private individuals cannot force automakers to cease selling ICE vehicles before the EU's planned ICE phase-out. Genesis has begun sales of its EV lineup in the Netherlands. The luxury brand has been expanding its European presence for several months now, but unlike some markets, it will not sell ICE vehicles in the country. Official registration data from the ACEA in Europe shows that while new car registrations in February were down 1.2% year to date, EV registrations now reached 18.8% market share. The EU and Australia have signed a new free trade agreement that will see cross-border trade worth billions of dollars happen. It will make it cheaper for European EVs and Australian raw materials to be exported from one country to the other. Škoda has confirmed that its Elroq and Enyaq are getting LFP battery packs for the new model year, complete with vehicle-to-load, digital key and one-pedal driving. Tronity and Mercedes-Benz have announced a partnership that will allow company car users a more streamlined way to expense home charging to their employers. A new white paper has been published this week in Germany that explores a new metric for expressing EV charging station reliability. It's called CSR, or Charging Success Rate, and is being promoted as a more data-rich metric compared to uptime. The Mayor of London in the UK is considering a new fee to be levied against drivers in London. It would charge SUVs more to drive in London due to increased injury and fatality rates associated with them. GM has announced it started public road supervised testing of its next-generation semi-autonomous technology. The test vehicles, Cadillac Escalade IQs, will operate under SAE Level 3. GM says the new system will commercially debut in 2028. BYD is now offering new Song Ultra EV customers 18 months of free charging in China with every purchase. The new model features BYD's latest 1 megawatt capable charging system. Toyota has officially launched the C-HR Plus in Europe. It features the same drivetrains found in the BZ4X and BZ4X Touring. Yes, they're still called that in Europe, with range of up to 607 km per charge on the WLTP test cycle. Ford has pushed a software update for its iPhone app for 2026 model year Mustang Mach-E owners that adds preconditioning on Apple Maps navigation, which will speed up charging times. Bentley announced this week that it's changing its EV plans. The announcement, not a surprise to anyone, will see EVs replaced by hybrid models, and only one Bentley EV will remain. And finally, for the shorts, a company in California called Terabase Energy has just launched its next-gen Terafab automated solar construction system. It's not the first of its kind, but it's promising to make it far easier and cheaper to build solar farms quickly. And that's it for your news shorts. There will be more next week. Our final two news stories are coming in a moment, but first, a word from one of our most important sponsors to the channel. You. For more than 15 years, we've brought you news on cleaner, greener, safer, smarter and more equitable transportation and energy. We're not backed by corporations and we don't have massive production budgets. Our small team works hard every week to deliver well-researched, honest content. We refuse paid editorial influence and focus on content rather than revenue. But good videos don't pay the bills when YouTube ad revenue is being sucked away by corporate greed. As a point of note, last year, more than $15,000 of our earned income was spirited away by payment processing before even reaching our company books. That is $15,000 I couldn't pay the team or myself. And as the cost of making videos and doing business has soared, we've tightened our belts. But we're about as tight as we can get. So in order to keep doing this, we need to keep the funds coming in. So if you're able, and I truly mean only if you are able, please consider supporting us from as little as $1.50 a month. We have tiers going up from there, but as I discovered last week when doing my taxes, thanks to the no cash on tips thing, if you want to support us at a higher level, please consider pledging at a custom amount on a lower tier, i.e. a $1.50 tier, because then any extra is classified as tips, not income. And if you can't support us financially, please remember that sharing our work, reposting it, and engaging with us really helps more than you might think. To everyone who already supports us, thank you. You are the reason we're still here. And now let's get to those final two stories. In the last year, we've covered quite a bit how Canada has moved away from its old policies regarding auto industry imports and tariffs and has struck out on its own to ensure its citizens can continue to enjoy cleaner, greener, safer, smarter and more equitable transportation. And if you'll remember from earlier this year, Prime Minister Carney signed a new deal with President Xi Jinping covering trade between the two nations, a deal that slashed import tariffs on Chinese-made EVs from 100% to 6.1%, along with a quota system to enable affordable EVs from China to be sold in Canada. Well, this week, BYD looks to be targeting 20 new BYD dealerships in Canada within 1 year. BYD has reportedly already hired a Canadian firm to help find suitable dealership locations, and it's expected we'll see BYD shops launch in Toronto, Vancouver, Montreal and Calgary, Canada's 4 largest metro areas, shortly. And BYD isn't even alone. According to Car Scoops, Chery Automobile and Geely are also busy working to establish their own dealer networks in Canada. And I'm not going to lie, as a Canadian with a Canadian passport, I'm kind of tempted to see if they're hiring media folk. And finally, last August, Mahindra announced a new limited edition electric car with a bit of a different vibe, the Batman BE6 EV. Part of a special crossover with Warner Bros., the Batman-themed BE6 featured a limited edition plate, and at the time of its launch, only 300 examples were meant to be produced. But as demand soared, Mahindra decided to expand that limited edition to 999 examples. Then it planned a second 999, making just shy of 2,000 in total. Now you might think that would make fans happy. More cars means more people can buy one. But the original 300 customers who paid extra to join that exclusive club were not happy. So now Mahindra has offered, in an effort to appease those folks, to buy back those initial special edition models. Now, those customers have 30 days to apply for a buyback, and if they take Mahindra up on it, will get back the full selling price. It strikes me as a little over the top, but hey, the only limited edition vehicle I owned was never meant to make it into private hands, and then it was only one of 3 made and one of 1 to have known to be survived. And it now lives in a museum. And on that note, we are done for today's show. But first, a huge thank you to the Electric Vehicle Association for sponsoring today's show. The EVA has been advocating for EVs since 1967 and remains firmly committed to a cleaner, greener future for all. Join the EVA today to learn how to become an EV educator, meet like-minded EV fans, and get help making your own transition to electric. That includes access to a low-interest loan program to help finance your next step. You can find out more at myeva.org. And thanks go as well to Energy Sage. Follow the link below to start planning your own energy-independent future today. And of course, thank you. If you are able, please consider supporting us from as little as $1.50 a month on Patreon. Supporting us can also mean sharing our content, joining our Discord, promoting us on social media, or using our affiliate links, all of which are linked below. And if one-off donations are more of your thing, we also have a PO Box and Ko-fi, which are both great ways to help keep us going. We publish new videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday here, and every Sunday we drop 2 more on Transport Evolved Take 2. Now, on to some important announcements, the most important of today's show. You are valid, you are loved, you belong, and you have a purpose. Every week I stand here and I say that you matter, and I truly believe it. But as things here in the US become increasingly authoritarian and we all witness, either from near or far, it can be hard to believe that things will ever feel safe or normal again. As I noted earlier in this show, we are publishing this the same day as No Kings 3 is due to take place in the US and further afield. And while I know some watching will feel unsafe going for very valid reasons, I hope those who are able to consider making their voices heard peacefully with intent go out and do so. Our very first story, and many more throughout the show, highlighted how it's not just the White House that's up for sale to the highest corporate bidder, but the future of human civilization on this pale blue dot. I know some people hate me getting political, or Kate getting political, but without us and the team telling you what's going on and how it's affecting our lives and the people we care about, many of you just wouldn't know. A lot of policies and laws already directly impact this company's ability to travel, to film videos and make content. And without intentional action from everyone watching, wherever you are, it will get worse. We are at a depressing and scary time in history. It's okay to feel that burden and want to isolate from it. In fact, I suggest we all do it from time to time for our own mental well-being when required, so that we can return stronger to fight for a cleaner, greener, safer, smarter and more equitable world, one rooted in justice, fairness and a shared goal. Finally, for today, I want to say thank you again to Kate Walton-Elliott, who is leaving the channel next week, and I hope that you'll join us in her live-streamed goodbye on Tuesday next week. She and I have been friends now for more than a quarter century, and I hope we will continue to be friends for another to come. I love her as a sister, and I'm so very proud of what she's leaving TE to do, establish a new book publisher for the queer community. So I hope you will join me in giving her a proper send-off. In the meantime, let your light shine wherever you are, whoever you are, and whoever you love. Thank you for being that positive change that we need to see in the world, and as always, keep evolving.